Think about the most prestigious award in literature. You'd probably expect it to go to a novelist, right? Or maybe a world-renowned poet. Well, in 2016, it was given to a man who's never published a novel or a book of poems. Instead, he has over 39 studio albums. So how on earth did a rock star win the Nobel Prize for Literature? Let's dive in.
Okay, so picture this. It's October 13th, 2016. The entire literary community is on the edge of its seat. Everyone's waiting for the Swedish Academy to announce the next Nobel laureate. It's a huge moment of anticipation. But what came next? Well, let's just say nobody saw it coming.
And just like that, for the first time in its long history, the prize was awarded to a musician. The reaction was, well, it was all over the map. Some people were celebrating, others were just deeply confused, and some folks were genuinely outraged. I mean, a singer-songwriter joining the ranks of giants like T.S. Eliot and Toni Morrison? It was completely unprecedented.
So this is the big question, isn't it? How did this happen? To really understand it, we have to look beyond the hit records. We need to follow the journey of an artist who made a career out of breaking the rules, who reshaped what a song could even be, and who basically wrote a whole new chapter for American music.
So, let's start at the beginning. Our story doesn't begin with a rock star on a huge stage. Nope. It begins with a young guy who shows up in New York City with not much more than his guitar and a mind full of stories to tell. This kid, Robert Zimmerman from Hibbing, Minnesota, totally reinvented himself. He moved to Greenwich Village, dove headfirst into the folk music scene, and took on the name Bob Dylan. His hero was the great Dust Bowl singer Woody Guthrie, and Dylan modeled himself after him, creating this persona of a rambling working-class musician. He was so dedicated, he even went to visit the ailing Guthrie in the hospital.
And wow, did he take off fast. His songs just perfectly captured the turbulent spirit of the 1960s, and he was quickly being called a modern-day prophet. A song like Blown in the Wind, that wasn't just a song, it became the anthem for the civil rights movement, something you'd hear at marches and rallies all across the country. It was the soundtrack for a generation that was demanding change.
But here's the thing about Dylan, he absolutely hated being put in a box. So, just as the entire world is crowning him the king of protest music, he starts to pull away. He felt totally suffocated by all the expectations, and he was about to do something that felt like a complete betrayal to the very people who made him famous. What he did next wasn't just a simple change in his musical style. No, it was a full-blown act of artistic rebellion, and it would go down as one of the most legendary moments in the history of music. And the transformation was just stark. It was night and day. He literally traded in his acoustic guitar for a loud electric one. He swapped those clear political messages for these surreal, complex, stream-of-consciousness lyrics. He was done being a spokesman for a movement. He was now just an artist. Now, the flashpoint for all this was the 1965 Newport Folk Festival. You have to understand, Newport was like the holy church of folk music. So when Dylan walks out on stage and plugs in, it was seen as pure sacrilege. The audience came to hear their acoustic prophet, and what they got was this loud, aggressive rock music. And they were furious. The boos were deafening. That feeling of betrayal was captured perfectly a year later at a concert in Manchester, England. Right between songs, a fan screamed out one single word: Judas. It was the sound of an audience that truly believed their hero had sold them out for rock and roll. And Dylan's response? He just turned to his band, snarled, and said, "Play it loud." And out of that fire, out of all that controversy, came his absolute masterpieces. Albums like Highway 61 Revisited gave us Like a Rolling Stone, a 6-minute epic that wasn't some sappy love song, but a scathing, poetic takedown. The lyrics were so dense and metaphorical, this wasn't pop music anymore. This was literature set to a beat. And this is really where the foundation for that future Nobel Prize was laid. But here's the key. Going electric wasn't a one-time thing. It was just the beginning of a career that would be defined by constant, totally unpredictable change. This pattern of reinvention basically became his signature move. After a motorcycle crash in '66, he just vanished. When he came back, he wasn't a rocker anymore. He was a country crooner on Nashville Skyline. A decade later, he becomes a born-again Christian, releasing gospel albums that just baffled his old fans. And since 1988, he's been on the never-ending tour, playing his classic songs in totally new ways every single night. Dylan's entire career has been one long rebellion against labels. Every single time the world thought they finally had him figured out, he would just shed his skin and become someone completely new. This constant motion, this refusal to stand still, is absolutely key to understanding who he is as an artist. Which brings us right back to where we started. After all these changes, all these different versions of Bob Dylan, why in the world was he given the Nobel Prize in Literature? Well, the Swedish Academy's official citation pretty much gives us the answer. They didn't give it to him for being a novelist or a traditional poet. They honored him for creating, and I quote, poetic new expressions within the great American song tradition. They recognized that he took these raw American art forms, folk, blues, rock, and elevated them with a truly literary mind. And his legacy is just undeniable. Before Dylan, pop lyrics were often pretty simple. He came along and injected them with the kind of complexity and depth you'd expect from serious literature. He proved that a song could be as powerful and meaningful as a poem, and that a musician could be a serious, independent artist, not just an entertainer.
And hey, his peers agree. In 2015, Rolling Stone magazine put him at the very top of their list of the 100 greatest songwriters of all time, #1. That really cements his status, not just as a great musician, but as a true master of words.
In the end, Dylan's Nobel win wasn't just about him. It really challenged our own definitions of art. By honoring him, the Academy was asking all of us to think about it. Where does a song end and a poem begin? Can a voice, a guitar, and a harmonica actually change literature forever? Bob Dylan's entire career seems to be a resounding yes.